Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and joining me tonight is a first former Tory Minister, Heather Wheeler, great lady by the way, and he's back, our left in the corner, Andy Twelves, and Andrew. I have a big bone to pick with you. You recently did a op-ed in a national newspaper saying I had betrayed the very people that put me into Parliament. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Go on and explain yourself, Andrew. You've got a minute.
I think the Reform UK caucus voting against the Employment Rights Bill is a betrayal of the working class, because this is, what will strengthen working class rights at work. Banning zero-hour contracts, banning fire and rehire, strengthening menopause rights, strengthening paternity and maternity leave. All these things directly increase the working class rights at work and just make their life better.
So how come I'm currently polling then, Andrew, in my constituency at 52%?
I think because the opposition's pretty poor.
Are you saying my voters are stupid?
No, I think, the Ashfield independents are a mess, and I think the Labour Party haven't put forward a decent enough candidate to combat you. And, God forget about the Tories. I think, honestly, if you had some real opposition in Ashfield, your polling might take a hit, it might not.
So Andrew said that the previous Labour candidate in Ashfield was no good. I just think the Labour Party is no good, full stop. I think the people of Ashfield back me. But it's not all about me, Heather. It's about the Employment Rights Bill. And I go to businesses every single week. Yeah. I was at one this week in Ashfield, and they say it's a disaster.
It's an absolute disaster. When you're looking at not just the smaller companies, but the bigger ones as well. Largest employer in South Derbyshire, Toyota. This is going to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. And at the minute, with everything going on in the world, the auto industry does not need this. It really does not.
You talk about, betraying the caucus vote, the working class vote, etc., Andrew. What about this current Labour government? We've got a coal mine up in Cumbria, which could be opened, and they put the kibosh on that. That was 600 jobs paying 60 to 70,000 pounds a year. We shut in blast furnaces left, right and centre. We've got British Steel on its knees at the moment, up in Scunthorpe, another 3,000 jobs and thousands of jobs in the supply chain. Are you telling me that this Labour government is on side with the British worker?
I mean, there's lots of things there to address. About British Steel, that's been going on for decades. British Steel has been declining.
But Labour's in government now, Andrew.
And, what do you want them to do? Nationalise it? You're taking on a loss-making industry. How are you going to continue protecting that industry? Right. That was the reason they shut the mines in the 80s. I disagreed with that then because there was no transition plan. But the focus on British Steel should be to reskill these workers into industries where they will have
and close the steel industry down? Is that what you really want?
It's a loss-making industry. You can't expect the government to take it on.
So you're not on the side of the British
I'm not on the side of nationalisation because it's not a sensible policy.
Heather.
I think we've just heard something unbelievable. Yeah. A union man that's not in favour of nationalisation. Yeah. That's incredible.
The unions aren't in favour of nationalising the steel. Only the GMB is. Only the GMB is. Unite on community on.
You said your piece. Let Heather have
unions aren't in favour of nationalising steel.
Go on, Heather.
Well, we're looking to the future, aren't we? We're looking to HS2 getting built. That should be British Steel building that. Yeah. We're looking at the extra bridge that's going to go over the Thames. It should be British Steel building that.
This new theme park.
The new theme park in Bedford, absolutely incredible. You can't have rides without steel. Yeah. And it's the whole point of the Americans coming here is because they want the British experience. Are they going to be happy with Chinese steel? It's incredible.
I wouldn't have thought so. It makes a good point there, Heather. These people investing in our country. We have the capability, or could have, to build enough steel to build HS2, to do this theme park, and all the extra infrastructure that's coming into our country. Yet we seem hell-bent on importing inferior steel from places like China.
It's not inferior.
Steel is steel. You're saying Chinese steel is better than British steel?
I'm saying that Chinese steel is the same as British steel. It's just not a loss-making industry. It's just not a loss-making industry. It's more damaging to those workers in Scunthorpe, those in Port Talbot, to nationalise and give them up in 2 years, give them a false sense of hope, rather than reskill and retrain them into future-proof industries. That's what the government should be doing.
This is a union man speaking like this.
The beauty of being a union man is your dues are going to come in, don't you? But when people are laid off, people don't have their money to pay their union dues. So it's a false economy, my friend.
So we've got a coal mine that could open. We've got steelworks that we could nationalise temporarily to get it back on its feet. Because once we lose our steel industry in this country, it's just a memory then, it's gone forever.
Absolutely. A brilliant lady up in Scunthorpe, Holly, that knows about the steel industry inside out, standing there at the front of the marches to save Scunthorpe Steel. And just people need to listen to people with real life experience.
The other day in the chamber, because earlier this week when there was a statement on the steelworks, Our side of the chamber, Conservative MPs, Reform MPs, we're talking about nationalising the steel industry to keep it open. And the other side of the chamber, the Labour, the union-supported Labour Party, weren't talking like that.
Well, life has gone upside down, hasn't it? But it is only a matter of, because it's a critical industry for our country. Yeah. And I think you put that first.
Yeah. So I know the unions, to be fair to them, have chipped in about oil drilling and gas drilling in the North Sea. They're quite happy to stick up for workers, which they should be doing.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to be sticking up for our steelworkers, Andy.
I mean, I think you said temporary nationalisation just a couple of minutes ago. Where are you going to get the money to nationalise it? I'd like to hear that from, who's your Treasury spokesperson? Where is Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor? is Richard Tice your Treasury spokesperson?
Come on then, Andy. Let me just put this.
Where are you going to get the money? Where are you going to get the money to nationalise?
Are you going to listen?
Yeah,
Are you going to pay attention?
Yes.
Are you going to pay attention?
If you answer, yes.
Be quiet then. So, somebody was on the TV or they spouted on it's going to cost £700,000 a day to subsidise British Steel, to nationalise. OK, 700,000. I suspect it's probably off that. But let's just say it's 700,000 a day. What's that? That's about £5 million a week. There's plenty of money. There's hundreds of millions, if not billions, to put illegal migrants in hotel. There's billions of pounds to spend on foreign climate aid. There's billions of pounds to spend on GB Energy. The money is there, Andy.
GB Energy, surely you appreciate GB Energy as a nationalised industry of the UK.
Not,
surely you support that.
They're not going to produce any energy, are they?
No. They are. That's the point of it.
No, they're not. No.
That is the point of it, Lee. Surely, as a man of nationalisation like yourself, you support GB Energy.
Come on, Andy, you've got to go back on this.
The good news about the recent announcement of money going into Sizewell C, that's absolutely critical. At last, we've got to have a proper nuclear industry and beefing that up. Rolls-Royce have been screaming from the sidelines about the small modular reactors. And because what Ed has been doing, it's all the Green Ed, all been stopping. I'm sorry if I'm triggering.
Oh dear.
But
have a drink of this,
have a drink. Good idea. But we've absolutely got to work out where we want to be as a country. And that amazing industry, the nuclear industry, that's where we want to be putting our money.
Yeah.
The British Energy, apart from the fact that it's going to be based, outside of London, which is a good news, but it's nonsense.
And you remember 1990? Was you born then? 1997, when the Labour Party government said there was no economic case for nuclear power in this country.
Didn't David Cameron say the same in 2010?
What a mistake that was, Heather.
David Cameron said the same in 2010.
Can you stop being rude, Andy? Heather's trying to speak here, please. Hey.
I'll wait for my turn. Lee.
Thank you very much, Andrew. It's crucial that we get that going again. I was a trade envoy, and it was really interesting. Countries were queuing up to buy our small modular reactors. Yeah. But they needed to see 2 or 3 of them going in the UK already. And then the sales from that would be huge.
Yeah, and just this week again, like I said, I went to a business and the electricity bill alone for this business employed 250 people, absolutely crippling this firm. Yeah. Combine that with the national insurance rise. Yeah. The minimum wage rise and
their business rates going up.
And business rates going up. They're saying they could not be it might not be in 3 years' time.
It really is very, very sad. A lot of the hospitality trades, cafes that you think are going really, really well, because of the electricity, because of NICs and the business rates, absolutely hammered.
What would you say right now then, Andy, to the hospitality industry to give them hope?
Hospitality is a big industry. There's a big difference between mom and pop cafes and these massive employers who do exploit their workers. There is a massive difference between those two.
Well, let's talk about let's talk about places like this pub here and probably employs 5 or 6 part-time bar staff.
Sure.
Yeah. What sort of hope can you give them?
I think hospitality VAT should be cut.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something I support massively. But the thing is, the Employment Rights Bill isn't designed to penalise bars like this, pubs like this, great establishments like this. These are these big chains that are exploiting 15, 16, 17-year-old students on 0-hour contracts, on fire and rehire, on minimum wage. Do you know what the apprenticeship wage is in this country, Lee? Yeah, £7.55. £7.55. And that's gone up from what? Do you know what I mean? There has to be a serious conversation about the wages stagnation over the last 20 years in this country. And really, the Employment Rights Bill is going to make workers' lives better. Fundamentally, it will.
There you go,
but Andy, you understand the reason why we've had wage stagnation?
Yeah, because it was your lot in government for 15 years.
Because we've had at least 2 more million people that come to the country.
Under your watch, Heather, under your watch.
With the great abuse, when you're coming to university, you don't bring 5 dependents with you, for goodness sake.
It was under your watch, Heather.
Well,
you were at the border. You were at the border border, you were there, stood, and you went, come on in, come on in. So I find it hypocritical.
In
that it was
February,
your
we changed
government.
it.
Go on, have to go back at it.
James cleverly changed it in February, and that's why the figures are going to be so remarkable.
February after, what,
I mean,
14 years?
you're a former Tory MP, and you was a good MP and a good minister, I know you was, and a colleague of mine. Why do you think it is then? I mean, Andy's wrote this article and had a pop at me, which he's entitled to do, but he's young, he'll grow out of it one day. But why is it that the Red Wall in particular, the working class vote seems to be turning to Reform UK? Why is that?
I think there are two reasons. Absolutely left behind by Labour, completely ignored for so many years. We were just turning the ship round on the levelling up. The most amazing high street improvements in some of the northern towns that had been absolutely left behind. And some of our northern MPs were amazing, the energy that they had, but it was just too critical a time. And that was a shame.
Yeah, I mean, the levelling up thing, I sort of half agreed with it, Heather.
You had tons of money.
Record amounts of money.
Absolutely.
But now we've got shiny new buildings. I went to one a few weeks back. Great what they've done to it, but it's empty.
Really?
Yeah, and it's empty. And I think, you know what? You could have spent that 2 or 3 million on that pothole-ridden road that runs at the side of it, Andy.
Yeah, I agree. I think levelling up was a great idea. And
Yeah,
I think
it's a good idea.
The money, the investment, I can't criticise. It was the ring fencing of the money, where you go, oh, well, it's towards a new council building. In Mansfield, for example, they're building a new council house, council building.
Thanks, guys.